All right, we are back with the Eastern Volleyball Network. I am Kevin Knight, and I have the privilege to sit on the internet today with Corey Chaos Robertson of Chaos Beach Volleyball. And today it's going to be kind of short and sweet and simple. We are going to get the story behind Chaos. And I guess without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of what you got going on in Indiana?
Yeah, thanks. So Corey Chaos Robertson of Chaos Beach Volleyball. We're based out of Columbus, Ohio, and previous years ran events here. But January of last year made the move down to Cincinnati to host our events at Grand Sands, and it's been amazing thus far. We have kind of ventured into this new platform of larger scale, higher end open tournaments. And Grand Sands has been not only a great host and great home for us, but we've been friends with those guys for years and years and years. And it's become the perfect mix for us to host events there, volleyball people working with volleyball people. It's been really, really great.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for that. I actually didn't know that you guys really existed for a while, because like the only way that we kind of can connect on this part of the country is that you kind of have to search for it in Volley America, and you still don't quite know, based on just the system, that you don't really know what the whole logistics would be of going to these tournaments.
Yeah.
So we get these like really distinct little pockets all over our side of the country that are really cool to play at, but oftentimes the players don't quite feel comfortable. They don't feel like it's worth it, or they have enough connections at these various venues to really take the dive and just make the trip, once, twice, three times a year.
Yeah.
And I was super happy that I did when I think I first came up with Will Rodriguez. And I was like, this place is amazing. How have I not been making a trip here like at least once a winter? Because you guys run some amazing winter events that, really, when it gets cold out here, you're one of the best, if not the best venue outside of Florida that runs events all year long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Grand Sands has done Kevin and Debbie, and now with John Drake working for them, it's Kevin and Debbie for the longest time have done such a good job of fostering the volleyball community, and not just the leagues, but the leagues also in the competitive volleyball. Far too often, let's talk about, the Midwest, where it's a lot of facility volleyball. It's not necessarily natural beach. You have these business owners who open a volleyball business, and the culture and the lifestyle, and even a lot of the sport is lost in that mix and the almighty dollar sign. Well, with Kevin and Debbie and Grand Sands, and even where they, before Grand Sands, when they ran another facility, you just knew that you were connecting with volleyball people. Kevin and Debbie were volleyball people, and it showed. And it shows in their facility, it shows in their events, it shows in their relationships. And all of us in the Midwest are super fortunate, in the Ohio Valley region and wherever people come from to play in our events, that they get to play at a facility that was, enacted by volleyball people who also run a business, not business people who own a volleyball facility. We're super fortunate. And I've seen the opposite side of that far too often. And, it doesn't always work. So we're very grateful. The facility is amazing. The facility management and everybody is awesome. And Chaos is exceptionally fortunate and grateful to have moved our events there and be working with them.
Yeah, honestly, so I have not been privy to the before and after of the marriage of Chaos and Grand Sands, but really the winner here is the players, and it, from the lower divisions to the co-ed divisions to the, especially the open level divisions. You guys, I think, are quickly becoming kind of like the crown jewel of the Ohio Valley and then the greater kind of Midwestern region, because you draw in really some of the big dogs. Hudson Bates is a regular there. Bruno Morum's a regular there. Chris Lewis is a regular there.
Yep.
John Drake, Joe Ruzick, all these guys have made main draws, and that kind of, outside of that region, I don't think that's super well known. And so, it's my privilege, I feel, to start to kind of bring this to light, not just for the people that are on the West Coast, but also for, honestly, just the people that are not in the immediate region surrounding Ohio. because it's to bring it to the forefront. It's worth a trip. You know, it's worth it just because it's not a true like destination beach location. It doesn't mean that there's not amazing people, you know, amazing like new friends to make. The facilities are all, you know, top notch, top of the line, and the events are all super fun to go to. And the after parties, you know, they're just a blast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what you guys got going on there. And, you know, what I'm really curious about, you know, cause we like to hear kind of the genesis story of how Chaos started. And, I have no idea. I'm kind of excited to hear what you got to say for us.
Yeah. So let's take it back a million years ago. I'm 42 years old. Actually, late last month turned 42, and I've been, God, a lifelong beach volleyball lover, player, fan, all of that stuff since I was about 14. But I grew up in Clearwater Beach, Florida.
Okay.
I grew up with guys like Justin Phipps and Bill Make and Joe Rohr and all of these guys that to me, you know, were buddies and friends and stuff, and played and it literally just poured my soul into beach volleyball. You know, I never made it to the level that a lot of other guys had as a player, but the sport crept into my soul, and it's always been a part of what I loved. And when I moved from Florida to Ohio, crazy, right? Back in August of 1999, I came here to Ohio, to Columbus, with an injury. I tore my meniscus cartilage in both my knees, was injured, was trying to kind of get away from it for a minute to be able to heal. My doctor, worked in medicine at the time. My physician was like, listen, if you don't get away, I know you're going to try to play and you'll re-injure yourself. And so I was like, you know, go to Ohio, met a girl on spring break, moved up here with her, you know, and although that particular relationship didn't last very long, I stayed. And I stayed because of the people. Like, yeah. I've had millions and millions of opportunities to move home. I actually moved home for a little bit when I worked for the NBL, moved back down to Florida for a couple of months, and ended up coming right back after that opportunity. And it's, you know, I could have stayed home. I could have stayed there, but I came back here because of the people. And in large part to my beach volleyball community, my family, my friends, the people in this community that I've become so close with. And it's like Chaos, when I moved here from Florida, I realized that I wasn't even sure, like, is there any beach volleyball there? I had no idea, right? I came to get away from it and ended up doing the exact opposite, if anything. And, you know, it took about a year and a half or so for me to really kind of figure out there were some little tiny facilities, and it wasn't really that big here. But there was a pocket of players. You know, I found this place in Columbus called West Campus, which is attached to Ohio State University, and there's 4 or 5 courts out there. The sand is super deep, so it's, you know, I'm from Florida, that's deep sand. It was great, and I started to meet some guys, and as a couple of those initial first years passed, more and more people were flocking to the sport. It was gaining this popularity, which I thought was amazing, which you couldn't have forecasted that would happen, especially the explosion now with it being a college sport and all this stuff. But so, you know, I started to meet these people, and I started to realize that there was some events during the summer here and there and everywhere. And I wanted to help elevate that. I loved the sport. I loved, you know, playing in tournaments, playing in events. So I started hosting like 5 teams or something like that along the way. You know, it's initially, it's hard to get people to your events. But started hosting events, got hired on a few years, I'd say probably 10, 12 years back, to help kind of oversee the design and build and initial operations of a beach volleyball business that's still running here in town. And that's when that facility opened, it's when I really kind of started to put my claws into running events. You know, it was a way to bring people's attention to the sport, people's attention to the facility and all of this stuff. And just kind of took off from there. You know, I called it Chaos Beach Volleyball because I used to DJ a little bit. And I went by Kid Chaos. That was my DJ name.
Oh, so that's where all of
that, when all of that stuff fell by the wayside, the whole Chaos thing just kind of stuck.
Okay.
And I named it Chaos Beach Volleyball. Like, my initial logo it's hilarious. It's still actually on my Facebook page if you go way back and look. But it wasn't something I took too serious, but it was something I was like, this is cool. We're running events, there's 5 or 10 or 12 teams here, 5 or 10 or 12 teams there. And over the next couple of years after that, it grew and grew and grew. And I started to realize that we were gaining a little bit of a following. The tournaments were growing in size. We had branched off from that facility to a much larger facility here in town where we could exponentially grow the brand. And when we made the move, that happened. We grew the brand, we grew the events. I kind of decided to take it a lot more serious. I built the website. We started, graphic design and social media. And then it got to the point where I was like, I have these awesome guys and girls that are coming to my tournaments. They're traveling all around the country playing, that I could sponsor because they're good players. They're good people. They're good for the brand. They're not, the crazy people that you don't want representing your brand. So we started sponsoring some players like, Chris Lures and John Drake and Nicole Sherpinski, and it's come to, Stacey Howell, Joe Ruzick, Logan Weber,
phenomenal
Courtney,
players, by the way.
What's that?
Phenomenal players, but this is like a who's who of like some of the best ballers on this half the country.
We at the same time, literally, I think a day apart, brought Logan and Courtney Blako on, two of the best guy-girl new sponsor-player combination. And it's like, people always, and I get messages a lot, how do you get sponsored and all this stuff. I said, and I say the same thing every time, like, it's not about how good you are at volleyball. Believe me, right. That helps, right? It helps. Yeah. But it's also about who's going to travel, who's going to wear the brand, who's going to fly the flag, but who's going to represent what we're doing. Chaos Beach Volleyball's little tagline, if you will, is culture, lifestyle, and sport. Those three things are super important, I feel, in growing the sport. Because I don't come from the West Coast, I come from the East Coast, I come from the Florida beaches, but It's always been about the culture and that lifestyle and the sport. And, it's these players that we sponsor that have helped immensely grow our brand and helped immensely to attract people to the tournaments like you came to. And we did, 48 men's teams and 30-something women's teams at the beginning of the summer. And to end the summer, we did the same thing, even a couple more women's teams. And we've started, because of the players that we sponsor and how diligently we utilize our social media and web platforms and stuff, I think it had no other option than to grow into what it has. And I'm super grateful that these players have wanted to fly the flag and that these events have grown and that we've continued to attract players like yourself, like Chris Frazier, who you're playing with this weekend. And, Katie Hogan from Florida, who played in our season championships, like these big time, East Coast, not West Coast players that want to come, even West Coast players, that want to come to these events. I mean, it's been so cool to watch. And, when we made the move in January down to Cincinnati, I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know how it was going to come over, but I can tell you this, it's been amazing, and Chaos is continuing to grow. Before COVID hit, we had the opportunity presented to us in a few different ways and fashions to maybe do some events on natural beaches to kind of take this on tour, if you will. But I also am fully aware of how much money that takes financially, and we're not there. And we're not I don't ever want to pretend to be something that we're not. We're a regional organization, if anything. But if we could branch out and if it could work, but COVID hit, bam, like nothing happened. All of the plans and things that we were talking about doing kind of fell. But, those opportunities came because people have come here and played or have heard about this, and other facilities have reached out, or, people have reached out for other facility, like in lieu of, hey, I know this place, and we've started talks. And those are some things that we still kind of have in the plans for the coming years, if it all, who knows, right? If it allows. But this Chaos Beach Volleyball has grown for three reasons. One, because of our players of all skill levels, of all shapes and sizes, not just our open players, not just the players we sponsor, but because of all of them. We're trying to figure out the mix of the amateur side of things and the non-open side of things with the new facility, because it works a little bit differently than our old one, but we'll get there again. But we've grown because of our players. We've grown because of the internet, for sure. I mean, the way we've utilized social platforms, and because thirdly and lastly, it just like I talked about our partnership with Grand Sands, how they're great people. Chaos Beach Volleyball, we do what we say we're going to do. We run good events. We don't, we're just not one. There's a lot of unfortunately some shady beach volleyball organizations out there.
Yeah, as in any business.
Yeah, and we're never going to be that way. You know what I mean? We care about our players. We care about all the players, the ones that have been following us forever, or the ones that have only played in one tournament that hope to come back. So it's been an amazing ride, and to see how things have gone this year, even with COVID, blew our minds. Like nobody knew what to expect. Especially we're talking about winter. You said winter volleyball, right? We got to play indoors.
Right.
Well, COVID plays a big role in that, right?
Yep.
And it was really cool for us to see. We had to push our season opener back.
Yep.
Which ended up working in our favor. It was ginormous. It was amazing. It was awesome. It was one of my favorite tournaments of my entire life to host, because I was like, how did this happen? But, it got pushed back, so we didn't know how things were going to go. And just to see how things have unfolded and to see how things have grown, even in a year when people are supposed to be, socially distant or not leave your house or do any of that stuff, like how responsible the players and the facilities have been to make sure that we can still play, still have fun, but still be safe is incredible. The measures and the partnerships and the players' ability to understand, like, we want to go play, but we want to be safe, and for us to be able to give them the venue and the platform and to do so, big thanks to AVP America, who we were back partnered with after a short leave from them last year. Never should have left. But it's, they've also helped all of their promoters be able to run safe events and, shut down when you need to. But if you don't, please be safe and be careful. I'm a firm believer that having a partner like AVP America, having a partner like Grand Sands, like, we're extremely fortunate. And those two organizations have helped us grow. And we hope that we've helped those organizations grow also.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to point out, like, we live in a capitalist society, and volleyball players are, this is just as much as I do. They're incredibly fickle. So if you put on a great event, people will come, but word gets out extremely fast. If, somebody's like, if you think somebody's like skimming money off the pot, or if somebody's like doing a bad job of running the event, it's like this, and none of the players show up anymore. So it was a true testament to me to what you guys are doing, because, like, not only did people show up, they showed up in droves. I mean, they maxed out the players list. And I actually got like a little bit of like chills on the back of my neck, because I actually realized the only reason that I knew about you all and ended up showing up to your events was because I first met Chris Lures at a qualifier in New York, and then at a Virginia Beach event that he came to with Logan.
Yeah.
And he was such a humble, like, wholesome guy to talk to. And he was wearing, every single time, he was wearing a Chaos shirt. He had his red Ohio State Crocs. But he was wearing his Chaos shirt. Yeah. And I was like, dude, where do you play? Like, you're an incredible player. I really have enjoyed watching you. You've got your own unique style. Like, I really want to come, like, kind of play against you or learn from you. And he's like, oh, we play in Cincinnati and a little bit in Columbus, and we got all these amazing events. And I was like, how have I not heard of this place? He's like, it's the best kept secret. You got to come. Like, and he's like, I'll make it easier for whoever you bring. Like, we can find you places to stay. And I was like, I wish I had known about this 3 years ago, because this is amazing that you're willing to, like, help everybody out. And he definitely has, pulled through on that every single time. And it's another reason that I feel like more people need to know about what you guys have got going, especially during these cold months. I mean, it's just a testament, like you were saying, to the players, because I had a player bring me into the event, and then obviously the event now is speaking for itself, because word has gotten around through various outlets, but even, more so through, Travis McWhirter's recent publications about how just how amazing you guys are doing.
Yeah, it was amazing to have Travis out. Like we talked about, people coming from near and far, and I'm always amazed at watching the registration list grow. But that was one name that when it popped up, I was like, what? So it was super cool that he came, and it was, I think even more so, speaking to the culture and the lifestyle of beach volleyball, to have him come and experience what we had to offer and the people that were there to offer it. By reading the article that he wrote, you could see that it truly touched him, and that's the whole thing, right? That's what it's all about. Sometimes I get stuck because this is a business for me, right? And it's, I'll be completely honest with you. We're not some of these other event or tours that have, these massive payouts and stuff like that. But we pay out what we can, and we try to keep it as high as possible. We try to bring in sponsors. We try to, last year was weird, right? You didn't get to experience that, but we've had, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 sponsors with tents and stuff. And, we try to create more of an experience, but it's like to see the players come back time and time again and know that they're not out making thousands upon thousands of dollars from our payouts, but they're coming because our events are super fun. They're extremely competitive, and they're well run is something that every single time we close out a tournament on a Saturday, I'm not only exhausted, but I'm like, this was so much fun. There were so many cool players. We have so many ideas and things that we want to put into play when the time is right and when, COVID and health guidelines prove to be acceptable. But it's one of those things where I'm just so grateful that we have people that want to grow the sport, people that continue to want to play. We have players message us that haven't played our events in years that were like, I'm old, I don't play anymore, but I'm sending all these juniors down to play, or I'm sending this guy that I met to play. And it's like, it's so humbling to not be forgotten and to have them cycle in new players, it's just one of those amazing things. And again, I think it's because we try to run really good events. We try to attach really good partners, and it's something that we're going to continue to do as long as we can, if that makes any sense. So it's and it's opportunities like this, because as we all know, social media is king, internet is king, and it's a real good way to grow your brand. But when you do it with a sense of humility and say, listen, we're always going to run our events for the players. It is a business, but it's also one of those things where we're going to give everything we can. We're going to throw it all in the pot. We're going to do all we can to make an awesome, amazing event and continue to attract players and continue to grow. And I think we're on a pretty good trajectory to do so.
I agree, man. All right. I mean, our goal here is to take all of the independent pockets of really amazing beach volleyball on this half the country and to just create a common platform where it's like a one-stop shop for all the amazing matches and the amazing events that go on this part, which is kind of, under the table, unseen from the main draw. But there's some incredible matches that go on. And so our hope and our dream and our goal, if everything goes right, is that we can capture the semifinals and finals at first, at least for the men's side of your events, of events that go on in Wilmington, events that go on in New Jersey, events that go on in Virginia Beach, and events that go on in Florida. And then maybe even I'd really like to include the guys on the Gulf Coast as well, the guys on like the Panhandle of Florida and in Alabama. And that's kind of, so if everything goes right, that's kind of our goal with our stuff. And I'm kind of curious. So my kind of ending question to you is, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year out, pick any of them. If everything went right, kind of where would you see yourself or what would you see for your brand and your business?
Yeah. I mean, things are just still so up in the air, right? Because we don't know what's happening with COVID and all this stuff, and we hope for the best, right? But I mean, I think short term, like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, would be to continue the plans that we had in place right before COVID hit, to do maybe 3 or 4 natural beach stops, but also to continue to do what we do at facilities, because it's been our heart and soul. It's been our bread and butter, and it's what, I mean, to be completely frank, it's what we do really well, right? Mm-hmm. It's a whole nother beast when you got to take, X amount of nets and do all this, and it's just a bunch of it's a lot more work. But I would love to grow the reach of our events and where we go and where we host, and I would love to grow the community of players that we are able to host for. Mm-hmm. But and again, I I don't have these grand visions of taking this thing, all across the country. But I mean, listen, if I was to win the lottery, it'd be a completely different story.
Yeah.
But it's, I just don't see that being in the cards. But I would love to do a couple of natural beach stops. I would love to. God, are you kidding? I would love to go to Clearwater Beach, Florida, where I grew up, getting dirty with this sport, and spending till the lights went out on Pier 60 to play, to host an event down there. Is it plausible? Probably. Is it likely? I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's doable. Just what it's going to take to do that, because there's, I don't know. I think to grow the brand, to take it a few more cool spots, but I don't want to lose sight of what we're doing facility wise, because I think it's clearly working for us. But we traditionally do a lot of Chaos Beach Volleyball apparel and all that kind of stuff, but again, COVID strikes again. Like, this year has been strange in its own way for many reasons, good and bad. And, we didn't do as much with apparel this year and stuff. So it's one of those things that, I would love to grow our apparel sales, because, going to Florida, going to California, or going to Chicago, or going to Texas, or seeing a picture from a CBVA tournament of somebody wearing a Chaos shirt. I'm like, I don't know that person, but that's pretty rad that they're wearing our gear. That's, and it happens, and it's crazy. And it's because of the things like you said, you talked to Chris at a tournament somewhere far off, and he was wearing our gear, and then it ends up, who's that? Where's that? What's that website? They have a pair, we want. So to grow our brand that way, but organically, right? We're not sitting on a huge marketing budget. It's me. It's literally me on the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram, on these platforms. I have Charles Cartwright, who's my assistant tournament director, that works with me, and we have some friends help out here and there, and we work hard to do it. But it's the organic growth is how we started. It's how we've got to where we're at, and I think it's how we're going to continue. And we're just super humbled and super grateful that the people that have supported us along the way are continuing to do that. And we're meeting great new friends and great new supporters, and people that want to grow the game like we do. And I think together, all of us working together, reaching out and talking to other facilities, and in this region, or in this expanded region, Tennessee, Michigan, around there, working together to make everybody's events good, instead of just worrying about what's on your own plate, is only beneficial. Because we grow the region, and our tournament, all of our tournaments are going to grow. It's just how it's going to happen. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, just grow it. Continue to grow it.
And like you said, you got great vision, and you keep focused on the culture, you keep focused on the players, you keep focused on the game, and it's kind of all lining up. It seems like it's all lining up for you.
It seems
and I'm incredibly humbled to hear your story and have you on. It's been awesome, and I hope people watch it for years to come, because this is the story of Chaos, and I think Chaos is going to continue to grow. I hope it continues to grow, because you guys do a great job. And I'm really honored to have this conversation with you. And if anyone hasn't checked this place out, you got to go to AVP America, sign up for a Chaos Beach event. Come on out, winter, summer. They run them all year long.
All year.
I'm going there on Saturday to play with Chris Frazier. It's going to be a blast. But the people make the event, and they're really, it is a one of a kind place. And I can't say enough about it. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for taking your time. I look forward to coming back for years to come, man.
No problem, man. Thank you for having us again. Big shout out to Grandstands and AVP America helping us make these events so great, and for you for having us on, and to all the players, whether you've played with us or not, old players, new players, whatever, come check us out. Come to some of the events, and we'd love to have everybody. And we're grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Corey.
No problem, man.